Hi, welcome to Coffee&Closers. I'm Mickeli Bedore, and I want to personally invite you to join me and one of today's top performing sales stars for a cup of coffee and authentic conversation. And our collective goal is that you will walk away with tangible knowledge that you can apply to your sales efforts today. Are you ready? Grab a cup, fill it up, and let's get into another episode of Coffee&Closers.
Let's give a warm Cocktail and Closers edition welcome to Mickeli Bedore. Love you.
How is everybody? Thanks for coming. I'll tell you what, if you're having a bummer of a day, this is a guy, either one of these guys, they're for sale. I hire them up and have them walk into a room before you get in there and just talk you up. That was really lovely, thank you.
I was gonna say, I can see why you like this now. Get up, it's like your own little personal rah session once a month. But speaking of which, I think the first question that is begged to be answered is, how does it feel to be in the other chair, being interviewed on your own show?
Well, how'd you sleep last night?
Not very well.
Not very well.
4 kids and a 3-month-old in the house.
I usually sleep like a baby. I usually sleep like a baby the night before Coffee&Closers, but this is not one. I'm a little nervous, if I'm being honest. A lot more work on this side.
As you should be. Thanks for inviting me to be your interrogator today.
For sure.
Well, I don't know that you've had a chance to do this yet, with all the commotion that goes into putting on these events. So I'm going to ask you to take a moment, take a look out at the crowd and what you've created over these last couple of years and what this has become. Pretty awesome.
I'm not going to be the 6th person to cry on this show this year. Maybe a little. It is awesome. To be fair, it's the joy of my life. We've done a lot of things, but this just brings so much joy. You know what I mean? It really does. And to see people show up for it, because that was the only thing, is we're going to keep putting energy into it as long as people bring energy to it and people keep showing up. And when you guys stop showing up, I am a man of my word. We will not do this anymore. As long as you love it, it makes us love it, and it gives us the fuel to keep doing it, you know?
Well, I think it's going to take a while to no one's showing up anymore, so I think you're okay there. But this is what this has become. Now we all get to see what this is today. But I thought, for those that haven't been along for the entire journey, take us all the way back to episode number 1, your first Coffee&Closers. And tell us a little bit about what was the inspiration that created this in the first place. Why did you do this? And then it's a 2 or 3 part question. So then for those that are out in the crowd that are looking to do something similar, they've got their own community that they want to build. Yeah. What have you learned? And what are you doing differently now than you did 2 years ago? And what advice would you give to some of those people looking to create their own community?
For sure. How many people are thinking of doing something like this? All right. Well, I'm going to stare right at you for this entire... Nah. Okay, I will. I want to give credit where credit's due. And Susie's not here, and she was kind of part of the original team. She's in LA right now, but she has handled our operations for years. And so you guys know Traction, L10. So we had our Monday morning L10 meeting back in the day, and she had a screenshot waiting for us, and she said, "Do you see this? See this calendar?" She goes, "That's your calendar." And she said, "You see all the ones that are colored this color?" She goes, "Those are all meetings that you're having this week and next, where someone's picking your brain about sales stuff." And she goes, "Guess what? They're paying nothing for that. Guess what? I have to pay a mortgage. We need you, if you're going to run this agency, to go and produce revenue." So she goes, "We need to change this. So you need to come up with a way that people can come to you versus you going to them." And so at the time, the people I was meeting with were all technical people. They were developers. They were really brilliant, but sales really scared them. And so I thought, well, I was having coffees with them, and because I was equally as impressed with them, man. I was like, well, I don't know how to code anything. I barely know how to turn my computer on. True story.
I've seen it.
And keep it simple, right? And so I said, okay, and so we came up with some ideas, and I'm like, well, how about this? We're at Coco at the time. Why don't we just rent a room or borrow a room and I'll just say, hey, whoever wants to ask some questions, now you can come to that room and then you can ask those questions. And that's what it was. Nothing more. And so we had 45, 50 people, or we had an overwhelming amount of people show up, or sign up, I'm sorry. And I went, oh crap, I'm nervous. What if people ask me managerial questions or whatever? And I'm like, I've never been a manager at that time, so that scared me. So I'm like, well, why don't I bring my buddy Garrett Kramer, who's an exquisite sales leader, and he sat next to me. And when we sat there and we had this full room, Gario, if you guys know Gario, Gario I think is here. Yeah, there you are. Gario put like a little cam, like it's this little fish cam, just a little camera, just to record the experience in case we forgot something. That's literally how this started. But the crazy thing was, all the people that I was having coffee with, they didn't show up. It was all you guys. It was my family. It was salespeople. And that really twisted things up because I thought we were building it for this, and then salespeople showed up. And it's been 50, 60, it's been 3 venues since. And in all that time, sales folks keep showing up, which is a beautiful thing. But in that time, which was our mission all along, was to get those technical people to eventually come. And now about 40% of our people are those technical people. And our first 2-year goal really was, two things. First half of this mission, let's just dissolve the stereotype that salespeople are dirtballs and sleazy and liars. Now there are plenty of those people, they exist, but there probably got to be some sleazy technical people too, right? And so if we can do that, and we can build that trust and just show that we all have to communicate effectively, which is sales, right? And we all have to do it in some capacity, whether it's personally or professionally, okay? And then what if we were to then make it a really comfortable experience for all people to come, for all people of technical, all people that do this. And I feel like with 40%, it's not 50 of those technical people coming along with salespeople, we've achieved that first level goal. And we've got some egregious goals after that, but that was kind of the whole mission and kind of story behind it.
I want to talk about some of those goals. We'll bring some of those up a little bit later, but you might even be reaching your goal, because I think if I look at the crowd and the people that I meet, that people that would consider themselves true salespeople, and then those that are technical, but then there's that other category, which is a lot of founders that you've created a community for, that maybe wouldn't necessarily consider themselves salespeople, that you've brought to the mix. So I think you've accomplished at this point. Yeah. So tell us about the what have you learned? So what's changed? So that's a great view of where this has started and what it's become. But tell us about what have you learned over the past couple of years? And what are you doing differently now than you did 2 years ago that's helping this continue to thrive?
I'll tell you the first thing you should do if you're going to run any sort of business is probably put a plan together. That would be great. We did not do that at all. I didn't even have a camera, for God's sakes, you know. Thanks for Gario for putting one in front of us. I think that with the sales folks, like that whole thing of we thought this and then this happened, I think that if you're going to create an event, right? If you're going to start a revolution or whatever, you know, that's been our goal, is to start a revolution, is to just disseminate sales altogether. And let's talk about effective communication, and let's talk about empowering people to get their way, because who doesn't want to get their way? Right? Everybody. Like, you don't want someone else to tell you what to eat or someone else to tell you what to think or go. Like, you've got to have your own, you got to be your own person, right? But when you come up with something, to me it should be, here's the group of people that I want to affect. Here's the group of people I want to speak to. Maybe it's just one person, right? But that one person is worth building something around. Because if you don't have that, people just want to build a cool party or a cool experience or a cool event, but that has no soul, right? For people to keep coming and coming and coming, it's been 2 years now. There's got to be a soul here. There's got to be something further than just getting together and crushing some cocktails, you know, and playing grab ass with each other. Like, there's got to be something deeper where there's got to be a further mission. And the feedback that we get is that. There's something that I feel when I come to this event. And so I think that if you're going to create something, have a mission behind it. I would do a business plan if I were to do this all over again. Start with a business plan, but don't start with a business plan. Start with a mission plan. Start with that mission plan. The dollars will come, but you got to have something that you're serving outside of just bringing people together.
So what I heard was grab ass and cocktails, and you got your community.
Write that down.
All right, switching gears a little bit. Something that a lot of people here might not know about you, Mick. because I haven't seen you wearing your Batman or Captain America costumes out in public recently, anyway.
Got to come over more.
Is you're a big fan of superheroes.
Yeah.
And you've obviously had a lot of success in a lot of different ventures, your entrepreneurial ventures, your sales ventures, music, Coffee&Closers events. And as we all know that, superheroes they're just like the rest of us, but they got this one thing that makes them super and stand out from the rest. I'm curious, Mick, what do you think your superpower is?
So this is what
I know you've thought about this.
This is what these questions feel like. Yeah, you can't sell much with Wolverine hands or claws. That would be kind of my go-to. But okay, I'm a big comic book fan, and particularly DC comics. Marvel, we'll give them the movies, but DC's put out some great comics over the years. And you brought up Super. So some of you might know this. I'm assuming half of you at least do. That Superman's from Krypton, and what makes him weak is kryptonite. The reason why it's kryptonite is because the sun, the earthly sun, gives him his strength, which makes him super. When he gets in touch with Krypton from his planet Kryptonian, it's just, you guys tracking? Anyway, it makes him weak. I guess what I'm trying to...
This isn't exactly what I was thinking about when I asked the question.
Well, you asked it. I think what I'm trying to say is my superpower is my kryptonite, which is my ADHD. And I don't think people talk about that as much as they should. Patrick, I know you do. So I have ADHD. Don't act surprised. Come on, I've worked with Jeff.
There's nobody that's surprised. Trust me.
What I mean by that is I think that, like Superman, what he is and what he becomes is, with ADHD, the superpower is you can process thought a lot faster than, like, you can hear information, you can compute it, you can filter it, you can fractionalize it, that's great. So it helps when you're starting a business because you can pivot faster, right? You can compute I don't know how to describe it. I mean, Patrick, you know what I'm talking about. Your brain works fast in a good way. Equally though, your brain works fast in a bad way because you're moving too fast to really put a lot of structure around all those thoughts and opinions that you're making. And then you think, well, so you move around, which is, in our businesses, some of them we've probably closed down too fast, and some of them we've probably hung on to too long for whatever reason. And I would tie that to emotion. There's the logic and the emotion, and you get emotionally attached to these things, right? But I would say that, so I know that's not a real answer, but I think the superpower, I love having ADHD. I honestly believe it's a superpower, and if anyone else wants to admit that they have it, here's your time. All right. Thank you. I've seen some hands go up. I love it. I don't know about you, but I love it. I think it's great. It's been hard to hone. I don't know if you've struggled with that too. It's very hard to hone. But I found that in business, if I can pair up with someone like an operational person, an operational person that is my opposite, but can also appreciate that they're going to have frustrating moments, that is an unstoppable bond and an unstoppable, that's a powerhouse. And, right, and you'll find that in a lot of businesses. I mean, you can, if anyone's on Twitter or whatever, you can find a lot of these CEOs. They got 6 things going on. They're doing this, they're investing, they're all over the place. Chances are I probably have ADHD. But the difference is, that I didn't till later on, is when you find that yin to your yang, then you do have a superpower. Then you actually have somebody, you have you have the Justice League, right? You build a company around the Justice League. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. I was just sitting there.
That works.
But
yeah.
That would be it. And I know that's not really an answer, but I think I felt
answer.
compelled to share that because I think more people need to talk about those types of things.
I think that might change, if we get you up as a sponsor, might change the way that we treat ADHD in our schools. There's a couple that you missed, and I'm not going to argue your superpower because I think that might be one of your superpowers, but a couple things that I also believe are your superpower, having known you for all these years. One is you take gratitude, and I think these are worth mentioning mainly because they're replicatable, right? If you don't have ADHD, you're not going to go out and get ADHD tomorrow because you wanted that to be your new superpower.
My wife's been trying to buy it for years.
But things that are more replicable for everybody out in the audience is, first, you take gratitude to an extreme level. I have never in my life met somebody that is so genuinely excited about the things that they do. And it's the things that you do. It comes out in sales. It comes out with the people that you're with. And those people are the only person in the world when you're with them one-on-one. Your job, what you're selling, is like the greatest thing in the world. Like, I think I dressed up when you're as you as like super awesome, amazing man or something like that, because it was one of your superpowers. Long story, is a birthday party. But that's
epic, man.
epic man, I think that's what it was. But that's one, is an extreme level of gratitude for everything that you do and everything that you have in your life. And then the second one that I've seen you with, Mick, has a lot to do with, I forgot the second one. It's also a great one, but I forgot what that is off the top of my head. So we're gonna keep moving on to the next thing. I don't have ADHD.
And I'm telling you right now, whatever you're thinking it is, it's definitely better than that.
It's definitely better than that. I remember what it is. All right. So I've got this great superpower where I can forget things like that, which is awesome in arguments, and when things don't go right, I can forget them and move on.
I'm gonna have to try that one.
But you have this dogged determination, and I've got a great story for people after this is all done. Buy me a drink, and I'll tell you about the story of Mick climbing a coconut tree in Australia. Yes. But you know what I'm talking about. But this has come across in every other aspect of your life, and I've seen you go in and where someone has left something for dead, a territory that everyone said, there's nothing left here, this is a dead territory, and you say, no, it's not. I'm going to go make that territory the best territory in the company, and you've done that time and time again, and it's nothing more than a belief and a dogged determination to go out and make it happen. 2 more superpowers that you didn't know you had. All right, so moving on.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. You see, you brought up kryptonite, and every superhero has their kryptonite. But following the same theme and the arc of the hero, and every hero, before they become the hero, so we're all here to celebrate Mickeli, our hero, but they have an epic failure. Something that goes terribly wrong in their life, and they have to overcome that before they become the superhero that we all know and love. I thought maybe you could talk about what's an epic failure that you've had. And perhaps you could talk about it in a sales context, but I think for a lot of the people that are here in the audience today, perhaps something outside of your sales career, and something where a lot of time, a lot of money, blood, sweat, and tears, and it didn't end up quite the way that you wanted it to. And don't leave any other details out. The gorier, the better.
That's a great question. I'm going to tie the sales thing in just because it applies to life. I mean, sales I've been getting paid to do sales since I was 16. I literally know, I know sales like it's a relative. Some people have brothers or family members that have been a part of their life this long. And I'm hovering around 40 just for the rest of you. So that's a long time. And, I've struggled with, do I love, now that apparently I'm the Coffee and Closers guy, everyone's like, well, I like sales, but you must love it. Do I love it like a relative? Meaning, do I always like it? I don't know. Do I love it? But it's always been there for me. And talk about failures. I mean, the thing about myself is that I do get excited about things. And that is a weakness. Because I can get really excited about something and go all in and could end up costing money, right? Like, I was told I wasn't going to get into college. I proved that person wrong, and because of sales, was able to pay for our, some of my college because of that. Then I got a great job in Manhattan to be an entertainment agent, like literally spending money like I was a rock star with rock stars. Difference was I was 22, making nothing, and sales was there to kind of like basically pay off that heap of credit card debt. It helped when we took some massive whiffs on some on some startups that we tried to found that just didn't fail, all because I was jumping in too early. But sales has always had my back. Do you know what I mean? So when everyone asks like your mistakes, well, my mistakes have always. I mean, my mistakes happen weekly, and I think my biggest mistake is just my lack of fear to jump into something, which is a strength. But sales has always been there to have my back. It literally is. I've depended on it, man. And it's also taught me things, right? It's taught me how to negotiate a car deal, or how to maybe not have to eat broccoli tonight, or how to hear rejection. Because whether you're an entrepreneur or you're in sales, you get rejected a lot, and how do you take that, right? But I guess my struggle has been, do I like sales or love sales? To me, it's like, if sales were a person, would I call it up on a Saturday and want to hang out with it? Yeah, probably not. But if I get thrown a slammer next week, would sales be my first call? Yeah, for sure. So, I hope that answers your question, but it's hard to remove sales from my life because it's been a part of it for so long, and it's always covered all the mistakes I've made, which have been plentiful.
I don't know where to go with that. We got time for maybe another question or two. And being that you have so many different experiences, I thought maybe we could tap into what are some of the what's some of the advice that you find yourself giving new salespeople, as you've met thousands of salespeople that have come through Coffee and Closers. What are some of the things that you're talking about on a regular basis? Some of the advice that you're giving some people new to sales.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's again, joy in my life, I guess, is the one. Well, the one thing that I end up talking a lot with entrepreneurs now because of the entrepreneur thing, and then salespeople. The one thing I'll tell entrepreneurs, just to get this, and then we'll focus on salespeople, is entrepreneur is just a fancy French word for salesperson. I know that because I've been a salesperson for most of my life, and I've also been an entrepreneur. And I will tell you, I sell harder and faster, and as an entrepreneur than I do as a professional salesperson who only has to focus on one thing. But for salespeople, I think that you guys don't have the advantage that we had. Maybe some of you do, but for the most of the audience I can see, they just don't train people like they used to. Right? They don't invest in salespeople like they used to, yet they still pair up the same metrics. Now, there's some great companies like Microsoft, NetSuite, and so on that do invest in those training dollars, but there aren't. So what I would say is there are resources and books and things, but if you can find a coach, and that coach probably doesn't work with you because they just, but if you can find somebody that you can pair up with. I mean, people do life coaches, they hire, training coaches. Those things exist. Why not pair up with somebody that you know? It could be in a completely different company, or it could be an older person or a younger person, to pair up and have that accountability partner, right? Maybe they're reading books and you're reading books, but I would absolutely partner up with that person. And the thing that I would put in place, we talk about business plans, is having a plan, which is action. Hold on. No, that's not the word. A process that you put in place every day that is action and plan, action and plan. Because people do, I would act before I'd plan, And then there's a lot of people that will plan before they'll act, or they'll plan too much. They'll sit in their desk or whatever, and they'll just plan, and they don't pick up the phone or whatever you guys do to prospect these days. But that's very important to have that accountability for yourself, and then an accountability partner that you can share to say, here's where I ended up. Right? It sounds crazy and it sounds ridiculous, but I will tell you the people that do that, the people that have the most success that I've seen, have that. And a lot of us had that built in to the companies that we worked for. I don't see that a lot in these younger companies. So you have to create it for yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's your quota. That's your quota. You can't feel sorry for yourself because this or that or whatever. It's your quota. It's your job. And if you want that job and you want to be successful and you want to have the life that sales could give you. Because I'm not a smart guy, I'm not an athletic guy, I just have worked hard, I'm empathetic, I give a shit about other people. If you have all those things, then what's the only thing that's keeping you from that and rocket fuel success is that plan. Amen?
Amen. I think we still do that
together. Absolutely.
And talk about those things. I can't echo as much, or I can't echo enough how important that is. To have accountability, to have a plan, to have action. You might have covered it in there too, because I think that probably applies to everything, but not only to salespeople, but let's talk about entrepreneurs? Because you've been on both sides of the fence, and entrepreneurs being a fancy French word for salespeople. But what different or slightly different twist on advice would you give, or do you find yourself giving most often to new entrepreneurs?
So something that I'll say about being on both sides is I've repped, Oracle. I've worked for Oracle. Who here has never heard of Oracle? All right. Nobody. For those at home. I don't know if you capture that. People have heard of Oracle, therefore they think about Oracle, right? That's a disadvantage in some capacity. Like if you hate Oracle, you just hate Oracle. So if I try and sell you Oracle, you're like, ugh, no. But if you're an entrepreneur and this is your idea, no one's ever heard of it except for you. That's a huge advantage. Huge advantage. And you've got to think about it that way, right? You got to think, no one's ever heard of this. I get a chance to share it with you. I get to bring this thing to you that you've never heard of. And that is how you should look at it. Don't look at all the... Being an entrepreneur is hard because it's like sales as well as being an accountant and a lawyer and whatever, a babysitter in some cases. But you still are a salesperson at the end of the day, and that's how the company exists or it doesn't exist. Either revenue or no revenue. That's pretty cut and dried. But if you can think of yourself as somebody who's bringing something new to somebody, right, that you've verified that there's a need, there's a pain that you are solving with whatever it is that you have, and you get a chance to tell them for the first time, and you can bring that excitement and that light to them, you're not selling anymore. Like, you're evangelizing. That's very mission-based, and it's a lot easier than going to get some quote at some big company that's like, go sell our stuff whether they want it or not. And I think that's what I love about being an entrepreneur, is it's scary and it's crazy and whatever, but if you can look at it differently, that it really is the opportunity to share something new with people, that you'll wake up every day, clap your hands, and get to work. At least I do.
I love it. All right. I want to wrap up on Coffee&Closers again. You talked a little bit earlier about the mission and what the mission has been and continues to push you forward. And as long as people are coming to your events, you're going to keep doing this for them. But let's take a peek in the future, maybe a couple of years out. It doesn't have to be a couple of years out. What are some of the things that you're working on that we can maybe expect from Coffee&Closers over the next handful of months and years that maybe a lot of these people here might not know about?
Yeah. Well, okay. So since we do have a business plan now, by the way. We do have a plan, okay?
That's good.
You can only do this for so long before the wheels start shaking and forget what day of the week Coffee&Closers is held. So we have a plan. We have a mission. We've updated our mission. If you can't tell, I'm very mission-based. But the new mission, so the first phase was we really wanted to bridge. We wanted to take parties because we thought if we could get a developer or a doctor or just really somebody, I sound so C-level, I'm like a smart guy. But if we can get a group of smart people to see sales as not this gross, scary thing, but instead inspire them to maybe want to learn more about how to communicate effectively, then I think the world would be a crazy better place. Because now you have those two superpowers joining forces. And I think we've seen that. We're not at 100%, but we're at 40%, which is pretty good considering 2 years. But the new mission is something greater, and this is going to be egregious, and I'm going to need your guys' help. So I don't know, has anyone ever been like, maybe you've been told you couldn't do something, or you've been held down, or has anyone ever had those days, right? Well, we're all here in America, right? Like, what about all people that live in Greenland, or like, a place without, internet to water or whatever? What my big, hairy, audacious goal is, and we have some steps to get there, but is I want people that think, I have nothing here. Look at this, I have no water, I have nothing. Or I'm not going to amount to anything. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you live in or where you are around the world. I would like for Coffee&Closers somehow to reach those people, to be some sort of voice so that people can find out, like, sales is a thing. Like, it is a real skill. I was told I wasn't going to amount to something, and I think I have. What about those other people that have been told that they couldn't? And we can educate them on what this craft is. You say, listen, there's no barrier to entry. It doesn't cost anything to get into sales. You don't need a degree. I barely had one. You don't have to be tall, obviously, or Good luck. Well, that's, forget about him. Let's focus on me. You don't have to have these things. All you have to have is you have to have empathy. Like, you actually have to care. You really have to care, right, about the person you're wishing to serve. You have to be able to listen and hear what's coming at you. You know what I mean? You have to be able to be disciplined and work hard every single day, every day, 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day. And then you have to represent something that you truly believe in. And if all those things match up, anybody can do this. Anybody. Now, granted, some people are going to be better than others. But I'm not going to be able to be a rocket scientist. Just don't have the goods. There's a lot of people that won't be able to do that, but there's a lot of people that communicate passion about something that they believe in to another human being, right? That's something everybody can do. And so, to me, that would open up a lot more opportunity, a lot more dollars in these people's pockets. It could potentially change the world. You guys might be laughing, but I'm telling you, it changed my life. And I think if we can be that voice of Coffee and Closers, we've already bridged one gap, right? Like, why don't we keep bridging gaps? So the steps to get there, one of them is we want to take Coffee and Closers kind of on the road. So we want to do some pop-up things to start maybe at companies. I know that's the most no water, no electricity kind of move, but we want to take it to different places, and we want to interview new people that we've never talked to, and we hope that the vibe of Coffee and Closers can continue to be about that inspiration. People don't know this, but Coffee and Closers is kind of a tongue-in-cheek rip on Glengarry Glen Ross. You guys know that one? Yeah, anyone that's been selling for last 10 years, that's like the show. It's the worst depiction of salespeople, second to The Wolf of Wall Street, which just came out, by the way. Thanks for taking us back 20 years. As we try and build up what salespeople really do and the art and science of it, I think the Coffee and Closers could be that voice. So I'm going to need your help, right? If you guys are with me, are you with me? Yeah. Can you help? All right.
Mick, that's awesome. Inspirational. You've inspired me over the last 20 years. This continues to inspire. I think it's a very worthy, big, hairy, audacious goal. And it looks like the entire Coffee and Closers and Cocktails and Closers army out there has got your back. Thanks so much, Mickeli. It was so awesome to have you as our guest today. And love you, man.
Love you too, guys. So what do we think? What'd you learn? Well, if you like that, check out coffeeclosers.com for upcoming episodes, recordings, and more. And don't forget to check out our sponsors. Each one has been hand-selected. They are best in class. Until next time, we'll see you at the next Coffee and Closers. Cheers.
Say live, come on live a life we love. Gotta live, I said live a life we love.